there is perfect. That's perfect right there. Because I all I see is like a blue background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the all right, I was gonna try to. So what's going on? So Miguel was good.
McGill was a trip, man. He's as you know, he's a different bird.
So I talked to him. I mean, I've talked to him a couple times out there, and it's you ain't lying. He's like, "Oh, I love it here. You go to the bar afterwards, blah blah blah." It's just like,
He told me something super two things that were super interesting. He was like he was with the Twins briefly, and I totally forgot about that. He's like, they helped me design my curveball off of my fastball ride cut. And he's like, they have some
yeah,
like super smart dude over there who like helped him. So like he had that buy-in, and he's like, that helped transform my career. And then like the reason I really wanted to talk to him is I was like asking him about his throwing program. And he's like, you're not gonna want to interview me, dude. I'm like, all right, why not? And he's like, because I go behind a Target, like a Target store on concrete and throw into a wall in the
this is in
off
the
season. And I was like, I definitely want to talk to you, bro. 100%. I
no
want to
way.
hear about that because everything that I teach is like the opposite of that. But if it works for you, it works for you. So he stands there in like in a parking lot on concrete and just starts firing. And he's like, my ball goes like this. So when it ricochets back to me and it comes and I get fielding practice off of the wall, he's like, I know I threw a good pitch. And I don't have to deal with a catch partner. I don't have to deal with anybody bitching about how hard I'm throwing. I'm just my job now is to throw 100 miles an hour as long as I can, starting at like 9:30 at night. I'm like, let's go. You should be doing it at 9:30 at night then.
Yeah. Wait, what did I? He's a trip, man. Like I'm happy for him. I mean, it's like it's
Yeah.
the delivery is like super unique from a standpoint of like how he just kind of lifts and falls a little bit of like he's got a little like Hoffman in it,
Yeah.
and it's like straight over the top. Um, that's interesting. Like the Twins guys are smart, and but they just have like their business model is a mess right now.
Yeah. I'll edit that out.
Well, no, I mean, it's not like I'm not
Yeah.
knocking it. I'm just like, it's just they just seem like they're in a world. I was actually listening to MLB Network about it. And so was it 19? This is not that it matters. It's just crazy like how I think we all get stuck in like, just of course they're making money, all this stuff, right? Um, and they said I think it was 19, they set the record for like most home runs in a season or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were all like primed ready to go into 20 and they started to expand some payroll based off of like projected like revenue uh and then COVID hit and it so this is the like their athletic talking on MLB Network. So COVID hit, obviously they lose all those ticket sales for the year, and apparently they paid them all the way through though. They paid everybody all the way through. And he said that's because they're in like $400 million in debt, I guess is the thing. Um, but that was like one of the things that was like a catalyst of like the debt of like how it started compounding on themselves as it expanded payroll, lost like the ticket revenues, and they kept paying people through COVID. So you're like, it's just
Padres
crazy.
paid us.
Yeah, I mean, Dodgers paid us. They took some off. They like they kind of like haircutted everybody, but they paid everybody.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not. I think they paid our minor leaguers too. I think. But then there was like Oakland who didn't pay anybody.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Bunch of teams didn't.
Yeah, and that's
It's tough.
that's crazy, man. That was like you think back about that. That's like 6 years ago now, and you're just like thinking about all the things, and like obviously there's some things that came out of it like this, like Zooms and stuff like that, which has made some life more efficient. But I was just thinking about just like the to-go boxes, like wearing masks. Like I look at highlights from like the games back then, and you're just like,
I know.
um, It's just funny. But the funny part is like when people are sick and they're like coughing on you in meetings, you're just looking at them and you're like, dude, go get a mask. Like, you can say it now.
The to-go boxes is hilarious. The whole recycling thing and like
Oh
it was
man.
so bad.
Yeah.
So
So it was all right. Am I good right there if I don't move it?
yeah, you're fine.
Or maybe I'll
This
do a
is
little
not this is
the
not
World Series.
this is not pro. Don't worry. I don't even know what I'm gonna
Yeah.
do with this. I just it is what it is. I'm just
Uh,
talking shit.
no.
The Zooms came out of this, which then leads to like remote instruction and being able to check in with your players whenever you want. Like, what do you got on all
Right.
that? Like in the off season, all your players went all over the world. Literally, you have 3 dudes in Japan. You got guys all over the place. Like, how do you keep in contact with them and like keep them dialed into a program?
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny because I was just talking to like Emmett Sheehan today, and it's like it's just a different animal with these guys. Um, because like I've put together throwing programs every year since I've been the pitching coach. And this is the first year I haven't actually put something out. One, just like I hadn't got to it, and I'm like full disclosure, it's just like I was burnt out. Like I didn't even want to think about uh baseball. I really didn't. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to like, but I'm starting to kind of like slowly get back into it. Um and checking in with guys. But one of the things is like so our minor league throwing program is clearly more so they put together like I think 4 of them, 3 or 4 of them, and it's based off of when guys finish.
Hmm.
So like trying to just sometimes they had to stagger, kind of the recovery and then the build up, and then clearly younger guys versus older guys, but they're doing like my terminology is not as up to date as it used to be, but it's like, you have your hybrid B days and your hybrid A days, and you have your like velo days, like, and so what I've done in the past is a little bit of like what we had before is, look, I work backwards. Like, hey, we're reporting February 12th. Like, I need 8 to 10 bullpens. This is what I expect out of these types of bullpens. I expect a month of, 4 to 5 weeks of, good long toss, like big, like slow on ramping, building up volume, building up intensity. Um, and then you continue to like work backwards to the end of the season. Obviously then I would take in a factor of like, okay, playoffs ended November 1, playoffs ended October 15th. Basically, I liked guys taking no more than like 3 weeks off, and then start playing catch. The reality is like these guys are. I don't think they ever followed it. Most of these guys are self motivators. They don't like taking time off anyway themselves. So even me not getting something out, I'd say 80% of our dudes were throwing within 2 weeks of the World Series. Just playing catch,
Yeah.
not nothing crazy. And I'm like, that's fine. Because if they're doing that, then they don't need a long on ramp, from a long toss standpoint.
No.
Uh, like Yamamoto's already been playing catch, Roki's already been playing catch, Emmett Sheehan's been playing catch, Glass has been like so like I mean, guys who had like real workloads coming to the end of the season are still playing catch. So so I talked, and then we get into like it's just individualizing of like they still will be off the mound, and then in years past, like I would say Alex Vesia probably threw 8 live BPs almost before he even got to spring training. So he's like even on the other end of the spectrum. So like the point of this whole thing is like you just constantly are checking in on individuals, and I'm only checking in on I don't know 15 to 18 guys. It's not like it's 120 like the minor leagues.
Pitching
So,
coordinator, right?
so
You got guys who are throwing almost 200 innings nowadays. It's around 180 to 200, let's say.
let's say it's about 150, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit easier now, but only in terms of like total volume of workload. But I feel like the intensity levels are higher than ever. But anyway, so
Yeah.
when we were in the minor leagues as players, it was like, yeah, take 2 months off and then do a 2 month on ramp and show up to spring training or whatever the case may be. But now
Right.
it seems like guys aren't taking any time off. What are your thoughts about that? Like, keep it
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to cut you off. I mean, I agree. I mean, I remember Maddox saying he didn't pick up a ball until like first week of January or even mid-January. He would be thrown on the back of a driving range before a round, and then they basically would show up to spring training, and that was their first bullpen, and they would pitch themselves into shape.
Yeah.
And I remember myself personally, granted that I only could speak to the first couple of years before like health was a factor, is I remember my velocity through the say the 5 starts of spring training would go up 1 to 2 miles an hour, and I would pitch my way into shape. Like my first outing was probably like upper 80s, for 1 or 2 innings, whatever it was. And then by the time you'd get to that, whatever I was, 93 to 95 type thing. But there wasn't this reaction of, and I know you're exposed to it, and I know there's this dialogue back and forth, is first spring training, you have a guy who's supposedly a 97 guy and he throws a bullpen at 92, and there's the immediate reaction of like, what's wrong?
Right.
The reports are this guy throws 97. And, velocity and TrackMan and all that stuff is really important, when you're trying to, you want to help a guy lock in, you want to make that information gap close fast if the guy's trying to figure it out and get dialed in, especially if he's trying to, earn a job. But we also react, I think, on overreact sometimes on, well, why is he not throwing as hard as he's supposed to? And so I think what you see is a lot of guys who just they want to come into camp and make sure they're always throwing that 97, and I don't think there's this it's gradual build up. It's like going in and like at a weight room. It's like you're not going to just go bench 185. Like, you do a warm up set, maybe or whatever, and then you move your way up into that. But I think we've lost a little bit of that, of subjective feel of like it's okay to start off a little bit slower, but I think everybody's expected now that they're full tilt right out of the chute, which I think is in turn of guys don't want to take time off. And they're automatically throwing high intense throws, early in the off season. Conversely, though, I do think like if guys are wanting to make real changes and real, pitch, like add a pitch or, lock in a pitch that maybe they were working on in the season, like I think you got to be throwing at a certain threshold to get real feedback on that. And so I do think you need to be ready to be throwing at a good intensity come mid-January. So I think it's a little bit of, again, you hate the caveat now because I do think it's cliche. Is like you got to individualize it because you do, and you got to understand like what is that individual trying to do? Is he just trying to maintain? Is he just trying to get in shape because he already is kind of established what he is, or is he literally trying to add a pitch that's going to make or break whether he's in the big leagues or the minor leagues, or is he going to take that next step in the minor league development or not? Um, Personally, though, I'm more of I'd rather you be throwing than not throwing. That's just my. If you put it to me and said make it very binary, I'd say throw.
Throw a lot.
Yeah, I mean throw something. I think in today's game, to your point with like the intensity and the volume of throws, or whether it's high volume, low volume, or medium, but the higher, I think every throw is at a higher intensity. I do think you need to maintain the throwing for your arm health to a certain point. Obviously, there's a tipping point, where there's too much. But I do think you need to not. I think a stagnant arm is bad. So I do think it's like, hey, couple weeks down, all right. But after 2 to 3 weeks, you need to be like at least moving that arm around, low intensity, high volume, and then you kind of keep tipping the scales as you start moving like higher intensity. Maybe it's a lower volume, and then you
Yeah.
try to build them together. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm always going to be more of a fan of throwing. It's more of my personal bias. I think when I stopped throwing, I started having arm injuries. And what I mean by that is when I put up big volume numbers and then all of a sudden I took too much time off, I don't think I ever got back to the place that I was before.